Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fourth episode of our podcast. I am Phil Woodard.
And I am Adam Potter. Welcome.
Yeah, and so today we're our fourth episode's in. We're like pros by this time.
We've got this down, Phil.
Figured out.
And not only do we have this down, but I mean, we are developing quite the following
We are,
of loyal listeners.
yeah, and so today we want to say thank you to those loyal listeners and those that participated in helping us name our podcast. Right.
This is really exciting. I mean,
Yes.
I envision that years in the future, everyone will be going back to season 1, episode 4, to hear that primary source document of us unveiling
Right.
the name of their favorite podcast.
Of course. And my great grandchildren are going to be receiving royalties off of this podcast.
We probably shouldn't tell our audience what you learned about how to monetize a podcast.
Oh, I guess I could. Yeah. So
Because we are well on our way
right
to making $15, y'all.
Right. $15 for 10,000 downloads.
So if you have not liked, subscribed, forwarded on all your social media, downloaded
Help
to
us
every
make
device
this
you
money.
own. Yeah, that's right. We are only 9,993 downloads away from $7.50 a piece.
Right. Yeah. Help us out.
Okay, now, Phil, I
Yes.
think that for reasons that will become obvious very quickly, you should be the one to formally unveil. That was a split infinitive, forgive me. To unveil formally our podcast name.
All right. So this is the moment you all been waiting for. We, by popular demand, we are titling our podcast. We should have recorded that.
Woo!
Yeah. So we'll update that, and you'll be able to find us now. I did not realize how many untitled podcasts there were.
Yeah, there are just too many untitles. Now, Phil, here's a question I haven't asked you already. Have we searched to see whether there is already a podcast called We Should Have Recorded That?
I don't think I have.
Because actually, what if there is? We don't want to be competing. All right, so now that we are formally formally unveiled the title of our podcast, I am literally typing into my podcast app right now. We should have recorded that, and I think we'll be the first.
Yeah.
This is exciting because the others are, and that's why we drink. I don't know why my search terms are bringing that up, or where should we begin, or why do you push that button? That one sounds fun. So all right, I think we can stick with we should have recorded that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm looking. There is that I'm seeing one. I'm on Google Podcasts and I see one.
Okay.
But this is how we're gonna distinguish ourselves. I thought about this. So we should have recorded that with Adam and Phil.
Brilliant. Except I think it should be we should have recorded that with Phil and Adam.
All right. I'm not gonna argue with you.
I know that you want to put it in alphabetical order since Adam comes before Phil and Potter comes before Woodard. But I think that you have better things to say, so it should be with Phil. All right.
We're going to fight over this.
All right.
We're not going to title the podcast.
What?
No, I'm joking.
We went through all of that, and you're not going to title it?
No. Go ahead. What were you gonna say? Go ahead.
I was gonna say if all right. So we have all these subjective deference toward one another, but
Yes.
let's go with an objective measure, and that is
Okay.
the fact that without you, this podcast would just be you and me talking into a Zoom call together because I don't know how to use a computer.
Okay. You know how to
So,
use a computer, but
well, I
I
mean, sure,
I
to
will.
do things like email.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I make audience. You are really hearing us like we're deliberating, like in real time. Like this is not staged or
It's
anything
just
like
not,
that.
no. I mean, we have an outline of the things we're going to talk about, but
Right.
like Phil has heard me say in the past, it is not a rehearsal plan. It is a
Right. It's a
rehearsal
rehearsal guide.
guide. Yes. So our outline of what we're going to talk about is not a plan. It is a guide. And
Yes.
otherwise, we let the spirit lead.
We do. We do. So
Yes.
everyone, our podcast will be titled. We should have recorded that with Phil and Adam,
Yes.
and you'll be able to find us. We'll get some artwork, and yeah, we're excited. We're excited. We're so excited about the title because we have listeners that are interacting and engaging with us. Adam, would you like to share one of our listener
I would
comments?
love to. Yes. In fact, I woke up this morning. So we are recording episode 4 on Tuesday, June 23rd. And so this morning I woke up and my Facebook notifications had gone wild because a dear friend, Laurel Waldbeezer, had like posted on my wall and tagged Phil and posted on Phil's wall and tagged me and posted a comment on her own wall and tagged us both and I'm just and sent us a group Facebook message in Messenger.
Yes.
So there is so much to comb through. I'm just going to summarize what Laurel said. So shout out to you, Laurel. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We're really grateful. And Laurel repeatedly mentioned her desire to be able to comment in real time while listening to us. So, Phil, before I read more of her comments, do you want to talk about your investigation on potential ways to do that?
Yeah, so still investigating, but I think YouTube is probably going to be one of our best bets, and so we plan to launch a YouTube channel where you can not only listen to us but look at us.
Phil, I should have did my hair today.
You look good. I promise you look good. I told you earlier there are people who get paid a lot more who don't look as nice as you do right now.
I mean, well, and I told you earlier, there are very few people who look worse than I do. So
No.
I think, I'm glad that you told me after we had launched onto this Zoom call that we were going to release this on YouTube because it means that I, without shame, just showed up in my purple Chehi t-shirt looking like Barney the dinosaur.
No. Yes, the authenticity. That's what we're about, right? We want to be authentic.
We're so authentic. It's why all 4 people who listen to us love it so much.
We actually have from what Anchor is telling me, we have about an audience of 13. So, gotta give us more credit.
13?
Yeah.
What? No
Gotta give us
way.
a little more credit than that. So
I am loving it. Okay, back to
Go ahead.
Laurel's comments.
yes, go ahead.
Okay, she writes, I love the podcast. And then she writes in her Facebook message, I've been blowing up your pages all night trying to talk to you all together. And then she says, I love your podcast. I'm in episode 2 and continuing to listen as I type. I keep wanting to talk to y'all during it. She makes a few more comments on the things that we are saying, and she, in fact, votes for. I wish I could have recorded that. We should have recorded that, and this is her justification. I would go with we should have recorded that because I wish I could have recorded so much of my life. And Adam, I wish I could replay many of the Covenant choir rehearsals that you led. We need Adamisms. So, thank you, Laurel. That's really kind. And shout out to all of the great people in the chancel choir of Covenant Presbyterian Church in Cleveland, Mississippi.
Yeah.
I miss you all very much, as does Phil, because he was a part of that choir.
I was, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. In Delta State, and all the people from Delta State. So, yeah.
Yes. So, that's our listener comment for the week.
That
Segment
is.
2. Bam.
In the books.
Emerald hasn't copyrighted Bam, has he?
He may have, because I think it's
All right.
like on.
Well, Phil, if you discover that he has, you'll have to edit that out.
Oh, I think we'll be okay.
I don't know. Surely, with our vast audience, we will attract the attention of the copyright police.
Well, yeah, we'll deal with them when they come, I guess.
All right, so if you're an attorney listening to this, please rate, review, and subscribe.
Yes, because we'll need your services. We'll appreciate that. So I guess we can go on. We throughout the past 2 episodes, we have been kind of chronicling our progressions as musicians, growing as musicians, and so today we come to this time where we want to kind of talk about where we are now and maybe even give some advice. So Adam, I think we've hit at a lot of the culture that we want to create, or that we want to have as teachers and musicians. Would you like to kind of elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I think that's great. I think actually, though, Phil, if you would indulge me, we've told a lot of our stories from our musical development over the past 3 episodes, and something that I have not talked a great deal about is my most recent education in music. And maybe it's because I was a little bit older at that point, and the truth of the matter is actually that those the experiences in my doctorate were really formative and really important to who I am. And so if you would indulge me, I just want to talk about those for a moment.
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so in episodes 1, 2, and 3, we talked a lot about our childhood music making experiences, high school, undergraduate. But I now want to just talk a little bit about what it was like to get a doctorate in choral conducting and music education at Florida State University. Go Noles! So for me, I was always have been, perhaps even still am, very sheltered. Like I don't know what I don't know. Does that make sense, Phil?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know. And Florida State opened my eyes to how vast the world of knowledge I don't possess is. And I just absolutely, I really adored so many aspects of my experience at Florida State. I adored my experience with Dr. Cliff Madsen in his classes. I took 3 classes over the course of my 3 years there with him, and I just loved those classes. In fact, I was reminded just today of a quote from him, and that quote was, "Truly great and successful teachers share three qualities: tolerance for ambiguity, intellectual curiosity, and the ability to transfer." And those values really were fostered in me during my PhD at Florida State. Becoming comfortable with ambiguity and not allowing any discomfort with it or any lack of clarity to derail me from the path of being a caring and competent teacher. Secondly, intellectual curiosity, being a lifelong learner, which, Phil, I know you have talked about that many times in the past, how important that is for you as well.
Yeah.
And thirdly, the ability to transfer. And by transfer, what I mean and what all of the Florida State people you encounter mean is being able to transfer skills and knowledge from one setting where you learn them to other settings where you haven't learned them, but where they still apply. And so I remember in Dr. Madsen's classes, at the beginning of every class, we would have to write and submit a transfer. And so I can't tell you how many times on a Monday in Dr. Madsen's class, my transfer of knowledge from outside the class that I knew I could apply inside the class was something from my pastor's sermon the day before. And likewise, I was learning things in Dr. Madsen's class that I was searching for opportunities to apply in settings outside Dr. Madsen's classes. And so really, that is called integrating, right? That's called synthesis. That is the ability to apply our learning that we work so hard to acquire, no matter what the setting is. And I think that has just been crucial. And then just a couple more shout outs, because these people really had a profound influence on me. Yesterday, on the so my professional organization, the American Choral Directors Association, is seeking to serve its membership with ways that we can resume choral singing safely in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. And last week, they released a really wonderful resource, a 108-page document on various scenarios for resuming choral rehearsals and performances at every level of music making, from elementary, middle, and high school to college, university, to church choirs, to children's, youth, and community choirs. It was really an impressive document. There were way more Florida State people involved in the writing of that document than people from any other institution in the United States. So I was very proud to call myself a Florida State Seminole because of that. But two of my teachers were on the Zoom call yesterday where the writing team of that document explained further the process and rationale behind it. And so two of my teachers, in addition to many other Florida State alumni, were involved in that call. And it just made my heart swell with pride to see our president-elect of the American Choral Directors Association, Andre Thomas, on that call, and to see the supervisor of my dissertation, Dr. Judy Bowers, on that call, both of whom taught me so very much. And then finally, someone who whose voice I hear in my head so frequently is Dr. Kevin Fenton from Florida State University. This is a man who challenged me, pushed me, forced me to grow, and who now is a friend and who I just am so grateful for. I went to Africa with him as a part of the Voice for Peace project, uh, and just saw him in January when I took my choir from Roberts Wesleyan College to Tallahassee. Um, and so I just want to mention those people. There are so many other people I could mention, voice teachers, music education professors. Uh, so we'll save those for a future episode. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave out that very crucial chapter of my life.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Phil,
important.
what about you? What chapter of your life have you not talked a great deal about for the sake of our audience?
Well, I mean, I guess I was thinking about this. One of the first opportunities that I had to sing outside of church was in my elementary choir.
Mm.
And there was a teacher, her name was Mrs. Eubanks. And and it was a Christmas program. I think so I found out about the choir, and I think you had to be in a certain grade to even to even audition. So like I'd gotten to that grade or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I know it's time for me to sing. And I think the song I sung was "Do You Hear What I Hear." I think that was yeah.
Yes.
I love that song, and so that was probably one of the first moments where I was able to sing outside of the church. And then I was thinking about this as well, that um, I even in middle school I went to middle school and I wasn't able to do music until the seventh grade. I had to wait,
Mm.
and actually after singing with Mrs. Eubanks, she had encouraged my mom, told my mom about the magnet art school in our area in Mobile. I didn't get in. My brother got in, so he was able to go. Right? It's funny. Right? I end up he's no longer playing he was playing the trombone. He's no longer playing the trombone, and I end up being a
Mm.
music teacher studying music. But that's just how it goes. So I did not get to do music until like my eighth grade year, and then again going on into high school. And so that was kind of but so that was again just another teacher who saw my ability, my
Mm-hmm.
giftedness in music, and encouraged it. Um, yeah, let me. What else? I mean, I think that like just meeting people. One of the other times, and I'll say really quickly, um, as I kind of went through my time where I stopped going when I took a break from college. I started doing worship leadership stuff. So I was like, playing the piano and singing in churches,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just another way for me to see and kind of affirm that making music and possibly even leading was something, a gift that I had from God. So like those
Yes.
opportunities were great
Mm.
and important.
I love that. So, Phil, you did not get in to the Arts Magnet School.
Not the first time.
Oh, but you did later?
Yeah, later on, I think it was my last year, my eighth grade. And
Okay.
I say I'm thinking of the different kind of
Uh huh. Uh huh.
elementary, middle, and high school. My last year of middle school, eighth grade for us in the South, I was able to go to the Magnet um, Art School.
I'm glad that you did not let your failure define you.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
I
Did I
I
ever
didn't even
tell you?
realize it. What's
Oh,
that?
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, 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 you.
I don't know. I didn't even. I mean, honestly, I didn't really see it. I don't even remember if I felt like it was a failure. I just, I was close. I actually was closer to home, so I got up a little later than my brother did to go to school.
Ah.
So
Mm-hmm. So
It
that was
really bothered
actually a
me.
good thing.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I'm gonna share a vulnerable moment with you, and it's I had an Irish friend who had a great saying that I adopted slash stole
Okay.
slash plagiarized, and that is half in jest, whole in earnest.
Uh-huh.
So this is half in jest, whole in earnest. When I say
Okay.
like, this is a funny thing in my life, but it's also traumatizing. When I was in elementary school, my
Mm-hmm.
school had a gifted program, and um, I think it was in the third grade that the school psychologist tested me for the gifted program, and I wasn't smart enough to get in.
Oh man.
And then my fourth grade teacher also thought this kid should be in the gifted program. And so I was tested again, and yet again my IQ was not sufficient to get into the gifted program.
Wow.
Yes. And I don't
Wow.
know what my IQ is as a number, but
Uh-huh.
I mean, I do know that I feel more stupid than everyone else around me.
No.
So, I I think,
Oh.
you know, but I will say, like, I will say other kids who did get into the gifted program are like not
Okay.
doing
I see where this
things
is going.
of an intellectual nature. Like, so your
Okay.
brother went to the magnet school, but he's no longer playing the trombone.
Right.
And for me, it was some of the kids in the gifted program
Uh-huh.
who were smarter than I am, who, like, let weed eat their
Wow.
brains.
Yeah. Well, I, mean- I mean, it's
Was
it's
that
crazy how that works.
undiplomatic of me?
It's I
Should
mean,
I avoid saying that weed eats people's brains? Because I just want to say to anyone who's listening that you should not do drugs.
well, I mean, this is we're kind of getting into another area. I don't really see I I mean, not that I do not that I smoke weed, but
I hope not.
well, I mean, I don't see
You shouldn't
anything wrong with
smoke
smoking weed.
anything, Phil. You are a singer.
I mean, that's true. I could,
Yes.
I
But
look
wait, you
other
don't see
ways.
anything wrong with what?
I don't see anything wrong with weed.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about the time that someone, I don't know if this is for public consumption. You know what? I'm choosing right now to make this a part of episode 4.
Okay.
So I won't use any names. I will just say that I was in my position at Delta State University in Mississippi,
Mhm.
and one of my students brought me a brownie.
Okay.
And she was a really sweet person, but I also knew her quite well. She was one of my closest students, and
Uh-huh.
so I knew that something was wrong because when she gave me this brownie,
Uh-huh.
she had this sly look in her eyes like
Okay.
I'm doing something illicit now. And
Okay.
so I'm like 98% certain that it was a pot brownie. I never even took it out of its saran wrap.
So you didn't try the
I
brownie?
just like accepted the brownie. Thank you very much. That's so sweet of you. You're a very kind person. I admire who you are. I might not have gone into I admire who you are at that moment, but I do admire this young woman very much. Um,
Okay.
and then I remember I took it home to my apartment and I contemplated unwrapping it. I've heard that like pot edibles have a distinct smell. Is that true, Phil?
I don't know. I've never tried.
You don't know. I'm trying to catch you, and you're too smart to get me catch. Okay. Well, I've heard that they have a strong smell, so I didn't even take it out of its wrapper. It was in
man.
Saran wrap, and like I feel bad because she probably, I don't know. Do you actually make them yourself, or do you buy them
I'm
like
sure
from your dealer?
I can imagine that, you may have to buy the actual plant, but you could probably make the brownie yourself.
Okay. Playing by the actual plant?
I mean, that's what weed is, a plant. It's a
Well,
it's a leaf.
I know, but it's like, do we call it a plant once it's like been harvested?
I mean, does it stop being a plant?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I guess. But it's just like if someone hands you an avocado, you aren't like, oh, thank you for this plant.
Oh, well, that's true. I mean, I was thinking about the kind of the sense of, just the product. This is because you asked if you could make like she couldn't make the brownie, the weed brownie herself, but she couldn't probably wasn't growing weed in her backyard.
I know. Yeah.
Marijuana in the
probably
backyard.
not. I mean, she was very resourceful, so who knows?
Well,
Okay. Wow. We are way off track. But I think that we
different
can.
episode.
I think we can hone this back in, focus.
Okay,
I'm talking to myself right now about focus because my brain, it's a little. Maybe someone gave me a pot brownie. I don't know. All right. So, Phil, what is it like being a professional musician?
Wow. It is good. I think
It's good.
it is good. I think it's good.
No, yes, absolutely. I mean, I was expecting a more, like a description.
Yeah,
I'm getting perhaps is more thorough than good.
Okay, so I'm getting it. I think what one of the things you talked about when you were kind of remembering your teacher is being a lifelong learner, and I think that's that is the biggest thing for me as I've become a professional musician, understanding that I am going to be growing more and more as I understand who I am, my body, especially as a singer. Like the body is the body is so important with any musician, but as a singer, it's especially important because our instrument, we don't hold it.
Yes.
But so like understanding who I am and then just how I use my vocal instrument and other ways. So I think like that's the one thing. But then, as a teacher, like the excitement in seeing, the student have those experiences. I actually. I haven't told you, but I started teaching drum lessons.
You did?
I did. I had
I want to take some lessons with you.
Okay. I will need to take lessons from you about dictation and rhythm, and then we can start talking about
Okay.
But so like in that, I'm teaching he's 4 right now, and he's so excited.
Wow.
He's so excited. And if I didn't have the understanding of music learning theory and how we learn music, I would be I would be a worse teacher than I am as being in with little experience. But just doing with him, and we're doing, and it's very exciting to see. I want to learn more so that I can teach him.
Yes.
And I want to, have those lessons so that I can then the next week see what he's learned and then how I can progress. And so, yeah.
It is. It's amazing to see your students achieving what the goals that you have for them. Isn't that an amazing thing?
It is. It really is. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, and so like understanding what are good goals, right? And we've talked
Mm-hmm.
about this before, and I actually was talking
Yes.
about this yesterday. So you can have the goal of we're gonna learn this piece, or you can have the goal of I'm gonna teach you this skill
Skill development.
so that you can apply it to whatever piece you want to learn and
You can transfer.
transfer. Yes,
Yes.
synthesize. The
Oh,
yeah.
Phil, you're talking my language right now. It's almost like I taught it to you.
Maybe you did, or at least my bills. I think. Right.
I do feel a little bit guilty about that. Those student loan bills with my name on them.
Okay, right. No, I think it was worth it. It's definitely worth it. I like I feel like maybe in a future episode we could talk about you know just the education system or even collegiate
Mm.
education and how maybe we should think about this in the future.
I
But
think that's a great idea
yeah,
for a future episode. The education system.
yeah, the education system. But like giving that, but you know, eh, we talked about this, empowering the student and giving them the knowledge to then go on, and if they want to teach it to others, hopefully they will teach it to others, and they will be good musicians. And so um, that's my desire at the end of the day. If I just see you doing what you love, and you can teach it to someone else, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's enough.
Yes, absolutely.
What about you?
What
Do you have a
about me?
yeah?
What is it like being a professional musician? Um, good.
Okay, and that's the end of the show, folks.
No, all right. I love being a professional musician, but Phil, I don't. And I think you'd probably feel the same way about yourself.
Hmm.
You musician is absolutely one of my identity labels, but even more important to me is the label of educator. So
Yeah.
I really, I, I am a teacher at heart. I am a teacher first and foremost. People are my job. Music is simply a vehicle to accomplish that job. Um, and that sounds all like pie in the sky. Oh, like doesn't he think certain ways about himself? But it's the truth of the matter. I love music, and um, I don't think I'd want to teach anything else.
Hmm.
I love teaching music, but it is the teaching that energizes me. It's the reason that although I usually enjoy concerts, performing in concerts,
Hmm.
I will choose rehearsal every time over the concert. I
Hmm.
love being in rehearsal, and I only like being in concert.
Yeah.
So, um, what is it like being a professional musician? Well, for me, it is about using music as a vehicle for transforming lives. So it's really about the the lives that I am so privileged to get to be a part of
Hmm.
because of music.
Yeah.
I was asked in a job interview once. It was kind of an odd question. I was asked, Adam, are you an artist? And, like my spidey sense immediately was raised because it was an interview, first of all, a job interview. And so many questions in job interviews have agendas, right? The
Hmm.
person asking the question has an agenda and they're looking for a particular answer, and they're treating it like a litmus test. And if you answer it right, then they'll ask the next question. If you answer it wrong, well, maybe they'll still ask you a question, but in their mind, there's a big old X over your forehead. And I gathered my thoughts when I was asked this question about whether I was an artist. And then I said, well, yes, but before I'm an artist, I am a teacher. And so for me, that's what it's like to be a professional musician. To use music as a vehicle.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. I think one of the interesting things, you know, we've talked about this with the transfer thing. The confidence that you can give the student, right? And that, I mean, we talked about this last episode. Like you consciously are teaching the word is social, emotional, I think. Or
emotional social learning, yes.
Yes, emotional social learning. Teaching that, and music is one of the most effective vehicles in teaching those skills.
Exactly, skills that are so desperately needed in the year 2020.
Yes.
So desperately needed. I don't want to say more than at any other time, but it certainly feels that way.
It does.
That our students' capacity for empathy, for emotional social learning, for civility, getting along with one another, my word, if we could only train Washington, D.C. with some music education focused on ESL, emotional social learning.
Yeah. I mean, cause like you, especially in the choir, and I think, and then even for a soloist, if you are not performing with the thought of the audience or the music, there is something that you miss, and like there's the cooperation between the two. And I think even more in a large ensemble like a choir, you have to work together.
Yes.
And I mean, you have to figure out, and not really even figure out, but just be sensitive to your neighbors, and then sensitive to, you know, as a bass being sensitive to the altos or the sopranos, and vice versa. All
and
of that.
them to you.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. That sense of collaboration, that shared sense of purpose.
Yes.
Shared vision. I mean, putting the group before yourself. Putting the common goal ahead of your own personal interests. There are 1,000 transfers in the sentences you and I just said.
Yes.
Now, if only people would listen. People in power, if only they would listen to us. We have the solutions.
Right.
Get yourself into a choir.
Yes. Start singing. Probably with mask on. We need to get that book.
Yes. Masked and with at least 4 meters of social distance. And if they're in a high risk population, they're just gonna have to live stream the rehearsal from home.
Oh wow. Yeah,
This is not. That's just one scenario. There are other scenarios to consider, but that is not the focus. I'm not going to let us go down that rabbit trail today, since we are in fact running out of time, Phil.
We are running out of time. One last thing I want to touch on before we leave the kind of professional thing, but it goes in the same vein. The idea of high lows after a concert.
You know what, Phil? Actually, I'm going to ask if we can. So here is a sneak preview of episode 5 next week. We're going to talk about servant leadership.
Okay.
And as a part of talking about servant leadership, we're going to talk about how servant leadership informs the entire culture that a choral ensemble can have. So, and part of the culture, Phil, is high-lows, like you just mentioned.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm thinking we save that in for episode 5 and our discussion on servant leadership.
Yep, sounds good. Sounds really good.
So Phil, since we are running out of time,
Mm-hmm.
what is the current event this week for Current Events Corner that you just can't let go of?
You know, so last Friday was Juneteenth, and
Yes.
important holiday for African Americans, and
For all
well,
Americans.
yes, yes, very true, very true.
I mean, yeah. I'm here. I am not diminishing its importance for African Americans. I am just stating my desire that I wish Juneteenth were recognized in other communities the way it is recognized in the African American community.
Amen, amen.
Yes.
Amen. So yeah, so there were those. Of course, we're still kind of quarantined, so we're not able to do the things quite like we would like to do them. But there were some protests and things going on in my area, and so I was able to go and be a part of one of them, and this is kind of a sad moment. We had someone come heckle us, and
No.
yeah, we had someone come heckle us, and a guy in the group, he was a young guy. He ended up hitting the guy, and yeah, it was
Oh.
really crazy. The one thing that I said to him before he did that, because he came, I was towards the front of the group. The guy
Mm-hmm.
heckling was towards the back, and then
Okay.
the other guy, and they kind of came around to my area. And I at one point, with my mask on, I
Mm-hmm.
kind of grabbed him and took him away. And I said, "Man, there are more of us than there is of him." It was one
Yeah.
guy, and there were more of us. Like, don't let him distract you. That's what everybody was saying to him.
Right.
But it got the guy talking got the best of him, and I guess like what I think about as a older older man in an African American is male is that we have to find a way to to express ourselves in a
Yes.
way that is I guess positive or that is helpful. And I'm not that's not those are not the words I really want to use, but we have to find a good way maybe to express
Yes.
ourselves that won't end us up in jail,
Mm-hmm.
or end us in. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
I hear what you're saying. Yes.
But finding the frustration that a lot of us feel, the anger that a lot of people are feeling, we have to find that outlet. Find a good outlet, and I mean, music is one of those great outlets. Singing. We
Yes.
did the kind of the lament service. Finding other ways to let that out is important.
Yes.
So yeah, that's one of the things um, that I thought about.
Mm. That's so good. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that, Phil, and thank you also for being present, for making your voice heard, and for being a voice for civility and peace. I just really appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Phil, what did you learn this week?
What did I learn this week? I learned you gotta go back to the silly place.
Yes, no, mine is silly too, so that's okay.
I learned that you were so afraid of eating a brownie.
I'm
You
reading my
wouldn't even
brownie.
open it. You wouldn't even open the wrapper.
Well, I did say earlier that I was/am rather sheltered.
You did.
You can
Yes.
take the boy off the farm, but you can't take the farm out of the boy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I've never dabbled. Like, Yeah, so coffee is just gonna have to be my
Your
my
strongest drug.
psychoactive
Okay.
addiction.
Okay.
Yes.
What about
Yes.
you?
I I'm going back to the silly as well. And I learned about you, Phil, that you in the 7th grade did not get in to the school you wanted to go to. But that it was okay because it meant
Yes.
that you didn't have to get up as early as your brother.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So,
But on a serious note,
go ahead.
I just love that your emphasis on lifelong learning, because we are, as educators, agents for good, agents for change, and agents for life transformation.
Yes.
So keep doing what you're doing, Phil, because you are having an impact.
Thank you. Same to you. Same to you. I mean, the
Thanks.
you encouraged me in a lot of those areas, and so thank you. Thank you for being an encouragement in that.
Mm. Well, with that, I think we've got episode 4 in the books.
Yeah. All
So
right.
I will say goodbye for now and see you next week.
Adios.